guys, it's Laura. A few years ago, I released a video where my husband Alex and I reviewed a bunch of different Vivo Barefoot shoes. And since filming that video, I've released a handful of other Vivo Barefoot shoe reviews. But I have some new shoes to share with you guys, and I think it's time we bring Alex back on to give an update on the shoes he has, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So I'm going to start off by talking about the Tracker II FGs, the Tracker Hi FGs, and the Ababa IIs. Alex is going to talk about the Primus IIIs, the Primus Swimruns, aka the Primus Trails, the Tracker II FGs, and the Gobi IIs. I will leave timestamps below for each shoe if there's a particular one that you're interested in hearing about. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can see more health and fitness related content, and I do plenty of stuff about barefoot shoes because I'm just kind of obsessed with them. Without further ado, let's talk about the Tracker II FGs. I've had my eye on these shoes for a long time, and I finally got a pair. Now, you have to keep in mind, I live in Houston, Texas. It's hot, it's humid, and it's extremely flat. So hiking is limited, but I feel like everybody needs a good pair of adventure shoes, and these are definitely it. I remember when I first opened the box and saw these, I was kind of blown away. I mean, they're super, super nice, and the quality, I would have to say that out of all of the Vivo Barefoot shoes that I have, these feel like the nicest quality. And I would expect that because they are expensive, but I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Aesthetically, I think these shoes look really attractive. The traction on the shoe is great, so perfect for hiking and exploring all sorts of outdoor stuff. There's a lot of cushion around the ankles, so it's really comfortable to wear and to have on your feet. So these Tracker FGs and the Tracker Hi FGs are essentially the same shoe. However, the only real difference is the height of the shoe. So I would say that this shoe, the Tracker II FGs, come up maybe about an inch past the ankle bone, at least on my feet. And the Tracker Hi FGs, I would say a good 2 inches. So it's not a huge difference, but you can tell. So if you want a taller boot, this is definitely the way to go. This is probably better for snow, for instance, and I can speak to this. I actually got the Tracker Hi FGs back in February, right before the snowpocalypse that hit Houston. Now, it doesn't normally snow in Houston, and if it does, it generally doesn't stick. But we had like real snow, and it was, well, you should watch that video because I did vlog that whole experience. But I did start out very excited. I'm like, I'm gonna go walk around in the snow. And I was like, perfect chance to try these bad boys out. I will say, they kept my feet very warm, and both of these shoes come with the thermal insole. I did not have an issue with my feet being cold at all. In fact, I think if I were to wear these with the thermal insole walking around right now where it's about 70 degrees, it's actually quite beautiful out, but my feet would definitely get warm. So I could also just change out the insole for something that isn't thermal, or I could just take it out altogether, and I think it wouldn't be as big of an issue, but I still think that breathability would be limited in both of these shoes. But I was really happy to find that these shoes are also waterproof. Now, both of these shoes are. I didn't do too much experimentation with higher up on the shoe, so you have this nice leather right here, but then as you move up, you have more mesh and more fabric. So I don't believe that this part is waterproof, and feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I would just plan on sticking to snow or water or anything kind of below the lace line. Another thing that I want to mention about both of these shoes, and this is my personal preference, I generally wear a 7.5 in all of their shoes, minus I think the stealths where I needed to size up. I also size up in these shoes, and this is mainly because if I'm going to wear these shoes, I'm probably going to be wearing thicker socks, and I want to make sure I have plenty of room. So these are both size 8. So again, I'm a 7.5 normally, and They feel very comfortable. They're roomy, so I could size down to a 7.5 and be fine, but I do like having a little bit of extra space. Next up are the Ababa IIs. Now, I think these shoes are super, super cool. Not only do they look great, they're slip-ons, so they're comfortable and they're easy to get on. I think one of my favorite things about them, the sole. I just think the sole itself is really cool, and it's creative, and I really like it. So I know that's kind of a cheesy thing, but they do have a cool backstory to these shoes, so I would recommend going to the VIVOBAREFOOT website and learning more about them. So I believe you can get these shoes in different fabrics, so I think they have some canvas options, but these are leather, and it really just depends on what's currently in stock. So check their website for that information. But these are leather. It's a thinner leather than the Tracker FGs. They're a little more breathable, but they're not going to be as breathable as canvas, for instance. One important thing to note is that these shoes do not come with insoles. It's just the shoe. So you may have to order a pair of insoles from their website. North Sole is another company that sells barefoot shoe insoles, and they have different thicknesses. I think the 3mm would be a good option for these shoes, because I don't think the height of the shoe is enough for the 6mm. Otherwise, I think your foot would be kind of like pressing against the top of the shoe, and that just wouldn't be comfortable. So I would go with 3mm, but I personally have not tried an insole in these shoes. I haven't needed it. They're comfortable on their own, and I really like them. So my section is pretty short and sweet, and let's move into Alex's.
Hey guys, it's Laura, or Alex. So up first we have the Primus Lite 30s. These are a lot better than the first pair of Primuses that I have. They've upgraded the material that they've used. It's a lot more of this recycled plastic material versus more of a cloth material. You can see that in my original pair of Primuses, this cloth area, I kind of chewed through that, not literally, but just I wore through it by wearing them in the water, just wearing them, running in them, doing all kinds of activities in them. And I pretty much only wear these if I'm painting, or pretty much I just don't wear them. Whereas with these, with the new ones, they're obviously newer, so they're holding up a lot better. The only downside of them, or the only criticism I have of these, is that I feel like the toe box is a little bit narrower. I know one thing that Vivo prides itself in is a wide toe box, and I think that's true for every other pair of Vivos that I have, except for these Primus Lite 3s. I feel like they're just a little bit too narrow. Who knows what the reason for that is? Maybe the manufacturing defect on this one particular set is a little narrower. Maybe it's just the way that they fit is a little different. Who knows? One thing I do like about these shoes is that they feel more durable than the previous Primus models. And I think the reason is that they're using a lot more recycled materials to create these plastics versus the cloth, like I previously mentioned. One other thing I like about this shoe is that the very thin sole helps you feel more connected to the ground when you're weightlifting. So for example, doing squats or deadlifts, I can actually wear a shoe, whereas normally I would be barefoot. Like if it's cold outside, like I'll probably want to put on socks and shoes, and these are an acceptable shoe to have for weightlifting. Up next I have the Primus Swimruns, which are very similar to the Primus Trails. This particular version is actually the Otillo crossover. So the Otillo is a swim run race, and that brand, Otillo, in conjunction with Vivo, created the shoe. So I think it looks really great. I love the way that the orange and the black complement each other. I think all in all it's just a great looking shoe. I really like the way they're easy to slip on. It has this kind of drawstring instead of a traditional shoelace. So as far as just like slipping them on, running to the store real quick, super easy. The things that I don't like about this shoe is I find that the thickness of the sole leaves you desiring that connection to the earth. So like I would never wear these if I was weightlifting or going for a run. I would just feel like they're kind of clunky. Even though they are designed technically for a swim run, I'm not really using these shoes the way they're intended for that particular terrain, like transition between water and land and where you need a lot of traction. I'm not really doing that. So I'm probably not getting the full benefit of this shoe. But hey, I mean, I like the way it looks. If they're easy to wear, I got no issues with them. Up next I have the Tracker II FGs, which are these lovely boots right here. This is what I'm going to call the spiritual successor to these Tracker SGs. The SGs, I wore these things so hard, I tore them up. Every time I wore them though, I felt like I was ready for anything. They just made me feel tough and cool, and I just really liked the way they fit and the way they made me feel. So the only downside is that they're really falling apart. I don't think they're as well crafted as the Tracker 2s over here. So I ended up having to replace these. With this pair, I love the way that they look. I think it's a very classic dark leather boot. I think the red laces look really nice with the little red logos and the little, whatever this thing is called on the back. What I don't like about them is that I feel like they have the potential to get scratched up, which doesn't give me that same feeling of toughness when I wear them. Like, I kind of have to be careful. I don't want to scuff them up too much. So it's not my tough boot, it's just like my cold weather boot. So far, I've only really worn them in the fall in Houston, which is not particularly cold, but I know that when the cold weather rolls around, they are extremely warm. Last, and certainly not least, is the Gobi II. This is my all-time favorite shoe from VIVOBAREFOOT. You can wear this thing to work, you can wear it out to the store, you can wear it casually hanging out with friends, or, in my case, if you have a couple pairs of them, you have one that's your yucky pair, or your like dirty jobs pair, and one that's your go-to-work pair. So, let's compare. These are the ones that I've had for about 5 years. I wore these to work before they became my dirty jobs pair. You can see I really wore them out. The toes pretty much worn through. The stitching on the side, I've just torn it to shreds. The insides, all rubbed and raw. The leather's completely scuffed everywhere. One thing that's worth noting is I rarely treated the leather for these shoes. I maybe polished them or treated them twice in the 5 years that I've had them. Considering that, they look pretty good for wearing almost daily for 5 years and like climbing trees in them, doing yard work, like getting dirt all mixed into the leather. I like them so much that I thought, okay, I'm gonna get a second pair. I've been wearing these for about 2 years now, and I like them so much that I didn't want what happened to these Hiker SGs to happen to these. I didn't want to be caught in a situation where I couldn't replace these. So what I did is I bought my third pair, even though the second pair is still great. So let's check out the third pair. We'll do a quick unboxing of my third pair. Right out of the box, because I'm familiar with them, I know that they've changed the laces. You might not notice it by a quick glance. I'll do a side-by-side comparison so you can see. So these are the new version. These are the old version. You can see that the laces are a little bit thinner and more yellow material, more of that yellow fabric. On this side, they're a little bit thicker and they have a slightly darker brown fabric. I don't know what I like better. I don't think it really matters to me. Maybe you have a preference. You can always change the laces, I guess, if you desired. One thing that I do notice that seems to be different is this toe box area from toe to lace seems slightly longer on the new version compared to this one. The new version is slightly taller around the ankle area. This shoe seems to be a little bit more matte-like in its finish versus the shinier look on this leather. Let's try them on and I'll tell you how the fit feels compared to the older model of Gobi II, even though it's technically still the same Gobi IIs. So I have my second pair and my third pair on of Gobi IIs, and what I've noticed right away is that they're both really comfortable. I mean, like any good shoe, they require a break-in period. Even with that said, the new pair, it already feels good. Like, it doesn't really need a huge break-in period, I can already tell. A very minor difference on the new pair, you have to single tie them, versus the old shoelace, I always had to double tie them because the laces were just so much longer. Who cares, right? I'm happy with both of them. I think that the leather on the new version, on the toe box, seems to stretch out ever so slightly, and then they'll be as comfortable as the pair that I've been wearing for 2 years, so I think it just takes a little bit of time to stretch out some of the materials. All the shoes that I tried on and talked about today fit true to size. So I usually wear size 11 for Vivo. Size 11, everything's size 11, including these, size 11. For other brands, I'll wear 10.5 a lot of the time. For Vivo, 11 across all their shoes has worked really well for me.
So that's all we've got for you, and if you're interested in getting any VIVOBAREFOOT shoes, whether we've mentioned them in this video or in previous videos, you can use my discount code. I have it in the description down below. And I hope you enjoyed and found this useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!